I'm gonna love you.
Hey everyone, welcome to Coffee with Brian. Today I'm going to do, I don't even know what you really call it, explanation video maybe or something, I don't know. I've got quite a few questions through Messenger on Facebook, through email, and other sorts on drawing. How do I get proportions right? Like when I draw, if I'm doing a custom order of a portrait or an animal, or I'm doing one of my own animals, or whatever, how do I get my proportions right? Well, that's what I'm going to show you today. Here in a minute I'm going to cut to where I'm actually doing it. And there's about 5 different methods that people will use when they're drawing. I'll just go ahead and tell them to you. There is, and I'll show you more in depth when I cut to it. You have projector, where you project. That's mainly if you want to increase the size. Like if you have a smaller drawing and you want to put it on a bigger canvas, you can use a projector and then trace out the proportions that you want, like the eyes, nose, mouth, stuff like that. You have, of course, grid system. Many artists use grid system. And that's basically, if you're doing, say, the same size drawing as your reference photo, then you'll do, like, if you do 1-inch squares here or 2-inch squares here, you'll do the same on your paper, and then you're going square to square. If you're wanting to enlarge it, say you want to make it twice as large, then on your reference photo you would do, say, 1-inch squares, and on your drawing you would do 2-inch squares. Or if you want to make it 3 times as big, you do 1-inch squares and 3-inch squares. You get the point. And then some people will use carbon paper. I don't personally like to use carbon paper because it leaves like a blue residue, and sometimes it's hard to erase. And they'll put that under the reference photo and then trace out where they want the proportions. The fourth method, which is also what I'll be showing you today, that I use if I really want to get my proportions just spot on, is I'll use charcoal on the back of my reference photo, and I'll turn my reference photo over, tape it down to my paper, and I'll trace the like the eyes, nose, mouth, ears, very roughly, just to get a general idea of where everything needs to be placed, and then I'll go back and I'll freehand the rest. And then, of course, the fifth method is, of course, freehand, which sometimes I do. But I'm about 50-50 on that. About 50% of the time, I'll freehand. But if it's custom work, or if I really want to get meticulous on the work, and I want the proportions and the perspective exact, I will either use a grid system, or most of the time, I'll use charcoal, and I'll just trace out where I want the eyes, to make sure I get the proportion right. Then I'll go back in and freehand, like if it's an animal, I'll freehand fur outlines, fur breaks, places in the ear, the iris of the eye, etc., etc., etc. So anyway, I'll go ahead and cut over to that, and I'll show you all what I'm talking about. I get a lot of questions with drawing about how do you get your how do you get the perspective right? How do you get the proportions right? All that, and there's about 5 ways you can do this. I'm going to show you one of the ways today. Obviously, you can freehand it if you're good enough. I'm kind of hit or miss with that. Sometimes I'm good enough, sometimes I ain't good enough. So, you know, it just depends on if I'm feeling it that day or not feeling it that day. If I'm feeling it, then I can get my proportions right. If I'm not feeling it, well, then there's going to be a whole lot of racing. Another method that people will use is like this right here that I have. Well, you can see it. It's a projector. This is more for if you're wanting to draw from small to larger. Usually people will use a projector, and they'll just rough sketch out their outline through the projection. Another way that's real common in the art world with drawing is people use a grid system. What they'll do is, now like this, I'm going to be doing it about the same size. So if I was to do a grid system, I would take like on here maybe 1 inch by 1 inch squares, and I would map out lines on here, across, horizontal and vertically. And then I'd do the same thing on my paper here. And then I would number, like across here would be like A through G, H, whatever, and then 1 through whatever here. And then same thing over here. And then what you basically do is you just, whatever square you're looking at here, you basically copy that square from your drawing to your paper. And you go square by square. And then you have some people use carbon paper. Like you would put carbon paper on the back of this, and then you would use a pencil and draw around the features that you want to keep. And then the last method is what I'm actually going to be using today. I don't like carbon paper. I don't know, to me, it's a lot of it's hard to erase. And a lot of it leaves like a blue tone kind of look, and I don't like it. So the method I'm going to use is this right here. I'm using charcoal, and I'll just go ahead and show you. You take the back side of your reference photo, take your charcoal, and you want to make sure you got a flat surface. If you've got lines, it's going to come up through the reference photo, and then you're going to have a mess. So you just take your charcoal, and you're just going to go over the back of your drawing here. You want to get it pretty good. Just like this right here. You don't want it too bold, because if it's too bold, then you're going to get a lot of the charcoal excess on your paper, and that's just more you're going to have to erase. So you don't want that. But you want a good enough amount on there that it will transfer to your paper here. Alright, about like that. I'm going to use about that amount right there. And I didn't tell you in the beginning, but I'm going to utilize kind of this V right here. This is all I'm drawing. So, now what, and you're going to need some tape for this. I use painter's tape because it comes off easier. So I'm going to go ahead and get me 4 pieces of tape here. If I can find the edge, that is. So we'll go ahead and just tear us off a big piece here. And we'll tear off 4 pieces here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I'm going to kind of center this about where I want it on my paper here. We're going to do it about right here. Sometimes I'll measure it out, and I'll try to do that, but anymore I've just got to where I'll just kind of center it about where I want it. That's about where I want it. So then I'll put me just very lightly. Don't really press down on this tape, or you can rip the paper underneath. Then you got a problem. Okay, I'll put a piece here, and then I'll put a piece here. Now you're going to take a pencil relatively sharp, and what you're going to do is you're just going to go in here and you're going to trace out the proportions that you want to keep. What I usually do is, well, you can't even see that, I apologize. like the eyes, rough areas of fur outlines, the ears, the nose, the mouth, and then kind of, you know. So let's go ahead and get that started here. Okay. Got this one here. Okay. Then we got the nose here. Okay. We've got a mouth area here. Okay. Yeah, we're going to roughly do ears here. It's like this here. Yeah, we're just going to roughly come down here. It's like this here. Okay. Then we'll got another ear here. Okay. Yeah, we'll bring this one down. Okay, and then we got some tan here. Like this here. Okay. And I want to bring this part down here. Okay. And I think that'll do it. That should give us our basic outline right there. So now we'll go ahead and remove our tape real carefully. Okay. And remove our reference photo. As you can see, voila. You have your general outlines of where your eyes and everything's going to be here, folks. As you can tell, we've got the ear here, we've got our eyes, we've got the nose, the mouth, general outline, where the fur breaks are, and shadow and highlight in the eyes. And there you go. And of course, keep your reference photo. And I usually, what I'll do is since you got this all over the back, I'll usually go in and tape something to the back of it so that I don't get it all over my brand new table here that I just paid $100 for. So, but anyway, this is the basic layout of it right here. I'll go ahead and jump off here. I just wanted to show you kind of what we got. As you can tell, well, I don't know if you can or not. Got the basic layout, proportions right. And now it's just a matter of going in and detailing out, and you know, a whole lot of shading, highlighting, layering, and doo-dah. But this is one way right here. If you want a surefire way of keeping your perspective on your drawings, like I said, sometimes I'll freehand if I'm really feeling it. But if I'm not really feeling it, if I try to freehand this, I'm going to be doing a whole lot of erasing and redrawing and erasing and redrawing. So if I want to make sure that I get those perspectives and those proportions right off the bat, this is what I do. I'll use that, and then I've got, as you can tell, I've got my basic features there. And as you can tell, I don't have a lot of that. I don't have a lot of that charcoal all over this either, so that's good. So anyway, I'm gonna jump off here. I'm gonna go ahead and go tape something to the back of this. Thank you for watching, everyone. Remember, click on my goofy little mug down there to subscribe to my channel. Smash that like button to show me some love and support. And leave me comments down below in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about the video, what you'd like to see in the future, or just how your day's been. Doesn't matter. Just leave me a comment. And as always, folks, I love y'all. Thank you for showing your support, and I'll see you again real soon, folks.